Hello everyone. If you are the front-end developer and have experience using with Chakra UI React template, which is very popular and really powerful to quickly create front-end applications, and you would want to connect your Chakra UI front-end code with the Quarkus backend, this tutorial is for you. In this tutorial, I have created a fresh React Chakra UI template code and implemented all these requirements to support the backend connection with Quarkus Java based backend applications. I have added two endpoint, hello and version, into the backend code. Hello API endpoint supports both get and post implementations, and from Chakra UI frontend I have written all the code as a needed step by step to connect these both hello and version endpoints from Chakra UI to Quarkus Java backend code. And my objective in this tutorial was to give you step-by-step details. So anyone who is beginner or someone who is expert, they both can take advantage of this code to connect their Chakra UI based code with the Quarkus Java based backend code. The same code can work with other React framework as well, such as CoreUI as well. Again, this is Avkash, and I am looking forward to have you in this tutorial. So let's get started. The code related with this tutorial is available in this public code repo, and in the Java folder, the folder name is Quarkus Chakra UI, and the complete code which you could walk through as shown in this tutorial can be seen in these two folders. The Quarkus Java application code is available in this folder, and everything is implemented inside this main and prod ramp. These are the classes we are going to add. Same thing, the Chakra UI frontend code is going to be implemented here. So this is the full code which is uploaded after this tutorial was completed. And if some of you would want to use this tutorial as a workshop and want to follow everything as we progress, then please use this starter code, where the empty code related with Chakra UI frontend and Quarkus web app Java code is available here. So as you are going to walk through the code in this tutorial, you can use these two different Java plus React Chakra UI frontend, and you can keep adding code as the tutorial progresses. So please feel free to clone this repo and get this code for yourself as needed. So Quarkus is really very popular, a Kubernetes native Java stack, and which already has support for OpenJDK, Hotspot, and Graal VM. And Quarkus is really very popular if you are creating the microservices. So it has a native support for Kubernetes. So when you are compiling the code, that is natively compiled for Kubernetes supported Java runtime, and it's one of the many features are available within the Quarkus. So besides even talking a lot more about Quarkus, I will just come to the point and create a very simple Quarkus application which has support for web through its RESTful interface. You could get started with Quarkus. Simplest way is to create the template code by visiting to the start coding section, and here you can actually select what particular modules you really needed. For example, there are the web modules available. Then if you are building a data centric application, then you can select various data specific modules. And finally, if you would want to add messaging support, here are a couple of more. And the list is not end. Various other types such as core, reactive, cloud, observability, security, and finally miscellaneous compatibility. So you could see that the support for creating Quarkus application with various modules is quite vast, and I would say that now these days Quarkus is becoming the de facto Java framework for creating microservices based application. So we will just create a very simple template code. So we will say, let's call it com at prodramp. So that's our group artifact. We just call it Quarkus web app. Okay, and build tool, I will be using Gradle. So there are even other options too. If you are interested, here you could see that you can set your version. You can select which Java version you would want to use, and then we really want a starter code. So we said, yes, please give us the starter code here. Then we need just one or two libraries so that we could create our very simple web app, because our objective is just to integrate Quarkus backend with Chakra UI frontend. So we just need a backend code which has one or two API endpoints available, and then we need the Chakra UI code so we could connect the Chakra UI with Quarkus backend. So I will just select the REST easy, and I will select this REST client, and I think these two should be enough. If you want to support others, feel free to choose when you are following this exam. After that, here is generate your application, and as you could see here, you can directly push to GitHub if you connect your GitHub, otherwise just download as zip. So code is available, and as you could see here, if you just want to run this code, you just need to run this command, and that's all you really needed to get you going. So next, I will be taking this Quarkus web app code and unzipping it to the location where we are going to work on it. Here is the unzipped version of Quarkus web app, and as you could see here, this is all we got from Quarkus website when we configured our application. And here is the local version of this particular demo project or tutorial project. Here is the Chakra UI frontend code, and here is the Quarkus web app code, and here is the location where this code will be moved. So I will take this whole code and I will move it to here. That's all. So that's all we really needed, and here is our Java related code. So now we have got our Quarkus web app application sample or the template code from Quarkus website. In this next step, we are open the command line in terminal and just try to run this command here. Here we are in this Chakra UI Quarkus project. Now we are inside Quarkus web app, and here is our application which we have just unzipped it. So we are going to run this command suggested. Let's run it. It's going to download all the required packages at the local machine, and now you see here that its execution has started, and the web application based on Quarkus is actually running now. So let's use the browser and access the Quarkus code, and as you could see here, that message said that Quarkus application is running at port 8080, localhost 8080, and as you can see that our Quarkus application is running, and here is the hello endpoint. Next, we are going to open this Quarkus code in the Java IDE, and I will be using the IntelliJ for that purpose. Here at the IntelliJ application or the Java IDE, I will be opening this Quarkus web app application. And here is our Quarkus web app application. Here is the code, and this application is already running here. So we will close it. So application is no longer running. Let's make sure that our application is not running anymore. Now we are at IntelliJ IDE. After we have opened this Quarkus web app in IDE, we can run this whole code directly from Gradle. Let's open the window, view, tool window, and Gradle, which is available here. You can go to task, Quarkus build. That's gonna build your application. After build is successful, here is your Quarkus tab, which is equivalent to this command line process. And as you could see here, application will start. And when you are running application through IDE, you can actually connect at 5005 port to debug this app. So Quarkus tab application is running. We can come back here. Application is started, and here is the application. Our objective was to add 1 or 2 extra endpoints. So here is main, here is Java, and here is the hello rest is coming out from here. This is, if we say change it to card ramp, save it, and here is the hello card ramp. Let's add one more class. Let's call it version resource. That's our new class, and we are going to add a path here, and path will be version, and it's going to be directive get. You see, subclasses, and here we could say it's going to be using media type. So media type dot, just have a text plain, and we have added version, and this application is still running, and completion will happen in real time. Here is our hello. Now we can also say version, and this is coming version, which we have just added. If you would want to set this thing into the application properties, you can actually add this thing to version equals 1.0.0. And if you would want to use this value here, you can say that config property, and the property here is, and this property is app version, and if you would want this version to be written here, there you go. So now you made this property dynamic, and property is defined here 1.0.0 there. If you would want to make sure that this is correct, you can say that's the property. So very quickly, we have added one endpoint, which is the version here, and the previously created endpoint is hello. So we have hello and version 2 endpoint available in this service. And now we are going to integrate these 2 endpoints with our Chakra UI application. And here is this Swagger interface for this application. And you must be wondering that, okay, we haven't added any index.html or any kind of HTML in the application, then why this UI even have this HTML code? So this code is actually coming out from resource, and here as you could see there is a meta inf resource, and here is the index.html, which is actually rendering this whole page here. So that's how you are seeing this information. And with the Quarkus latest versions, they also have something called this dev UI available, and it's just an extension. So if you open this dev UI, as you could see here, various other application specific configurations available for you. So here is a configuration editor, and depending on your application version, you can set. So here you could see this is the application config we have added manually. Rest of the configurations related with our applications are already added here. So if you just want to add them, enable them, you have ability to very quickly select and manually add them here. We can go back to home, and as you could see here, there are several other ways you can configure this Quarkus web app application, but that is not the scope of this tutorial. So I will close this dev UI and I'm back to here. And as you could see here, that this is the template code which already has this hello add into Quarkus configuration UI, and that is actually coming out from here. So this is your hello. So it's not something dynamically added, it's just coming from here. So if you would want to add your version to, you can actually come here. So this is your code version, and that is going to use version. As you could see, we have hello and version. So here is the version, and here is your hello. Here in this repo where this tutorial sample code is available, here is the Quarkus Chakra UI project which we are working, and we have just worked in Quarkus web app, which is here. I haven't pushed the code, that's why this area is empty. And here is our Chakra UI code. So this code is already been added earlier, and I do have a tutorial available which you could use, and it has a complete walkthrough for you to how you can get started with the Chakra UI if you are new. And here you could see that I do have this tutorial, and this is the playlist. Here you can find several Chakra UI related tutorials available, and then the code which we are going to use is actually being taken from this Chakra UI modular layout. So here you could see that it already has this header footer built into, and it also has the routes added to it. So please go through with these tutorials depending on what level of experience and expertise you have with regard to Chakra UI. And here we have Quarkus, Chakra UI, and Chakra UI FrontEnd. So here is our code. So we need to install npm install because it's just fresh code. So node modules are downloaded depending on this application package requirement. So now we are going to run npm run start or npm start. Development server is started, and we can take a look here, and here is our Chakra UI code. If we look into data, this is page data. So there is a route already available data, and we can open this Chakra UI code in the Visual Studio Code IDE, so we can have a direct access to see where the code is when we are running it. Here is Visual Studio IDE. Let's open the folder. Here is the Quarkus Chakra UI, and here is the front-end code. So we are going to open this folder here, and here is the source. And if you look into the components, here is the route, and if you are going to look into the routes, here is the index, and here is the data. So that's what you are seeing here. When you see the data, this is what data home is coming into, and the data page is implemented here in this implementation. So here is the data home, and we can say today. And so now you can get an idea that this is the actual code we are using here. So this is our Chakra UI code opened in Visual Studio Code Editor. Here is our Java specific code Quarkus project, which is opened into the IntelliJ IDE. So now we are going to integrate the backend code in this Chakra UI frontend. So very first thing, what we need to add support for the proxy server, because right now the code is running at where the node server is running, and our backend code is running at port 8080. So we have to connect the node server through a proxy to the backend server, which is running on port 8080 here, but it could be running anywhere. So let's add a proxy implementation here. So we are coming into the here src and creating setupProxy.js, and we are adding this pre-built code. So this is our step 1, and here we need to define the port server and port where we want to connect this proxy. So it could be anywhere. If you have a fully qualified DNS name and the port, you can connect to anywhere your backend service is running from this Chakra UI frontend code. So it does not even matter. After we have added this setup proxy, so we need to make sure that this particular module is also available in our project. So we can look into the package.json and add the new dev dependency. So we can say dev dependency, and let's add the and we can look into 0.19.1. So that's the version that we have, and we can also use the React scripts. So we have added HTTP proxy middleware because that module is needed for us here. We haven't restarted the node server because node server was started first and the proxy code was added later. So what we want is that we need to restart the node server. So this time it starts with proxy modules. So let me exit here. Let me restart it. Here looks like it's running now. Let's come back from the npm install, npm run. After we have added this, next step we have to create these APIs so we could connect the backend code through get and post. In the src folder, I will be creating a folder called API, and let's call server connect, and the type we are using get here, and same thing we are going to add for post. So we have added. Now we are going to add code for server connect get. So I already have this template code available which I have used earlier for Python, so I will be just copying pasting as it is, and I will explain here. So here you see that I have a function called get rest request, and here will be the URL where we are trying to connect. So this is just a function, and the return of this method will be this object called get result object. And here we are just making a call to this URL. As you could see here, API URL and mode enabled with course, method is get, and here content header JSON and accept. So if you, depending on your requirement, you can modify this fetch method as needed. After that, request will be made, and then we are going to look into the check status, which is implemented here. And here you could see that we are checking if the status is 200 or above all the way to under 300. And if everything is okay, then response will be there. And as you could see here, we are collecting the response related data and setting up the response. And this area is actually calling this parse.json. So here you could see then parse.json. So everything is okay, then is parse.json is called, and then is take the response and is response.json. So all the result you are going to get back, it will be formatted JSON object for you. So you don't need to change and or convert it. So whenever you are going to call this method, you need to pass the URL. Basically the URL which is on top of here. So after that, anything is supposed to be added, that part will be added here in this function. Next, let's come to post. Here is the post code, and this code is quite identical to the previous get with one simple difference, and that is here. Because when you are making post call, you need to pass the post body data. So here you could see that we are just sending the body, and this body is being stringified. So it means you are sending the JSON object, which is converted into the text, simple text, and the text is sent as a body to this fetch to this to the backend code through this fetch function, and rest of the code is identical. So we are going to use either get or post, and depending on which method we are using, we need to pass the API endpoints plus the object where we want to get our result back, and depending on get or post, we need to also supply the body data. So that's our get and post implementation. application has no problem, everything looks okay. Now we are going to look into the implementation of data, which is here, and try to support these two functions so that we can make call here. So first thing, import, we are going to get REST object. So as you could see here, server connect get REST. Same thing, import, and the method name was post REST object, and there you go. So we have added these two import functions, so we could import them in our application. Next, let's create the constructor here. So we have constructor props, so backend data, and that could be empty. Right now we are just defining the state variable here, and I think that should be enough for us. So this is the place where we are going to collect the backend data and we can store in this state. Now let's make this get call, and here is I already created this function. So say hello get request detail, and here is our request where we are trying to call v1 hello, and as you could see here our prefix to call these method has the v1 and that method name. So here we are calling v1 hello, and this hello should be called whenever we are using this method. So we haven't made a call to this method, so we will call this when this page will be mounted. So we can say component did mount. So when this page will be mounted, we can call this, say this dot and this. It means that whenever we are going to make this call, this, and let's come back here, developer tools, reload, and as you could see here hello, and it's saying that there is, because it's asking for v1 hello, and it's a 404 not found, and that is not found because we already know our implementation here is actually not the v1 hello. Our implementation here is actually just hello. So we have two options: either we remove the prefix from our front-end code, or we implement this thing with the v1 or version. So let's come back to our Java code, and here is our config resource. We can say this is v1 hello, and version is also the v1 version. So we have added these two. Now we can come back to index here, and just to fix it, so we could say this is v1, this is v1. Okay, so this is like an internal code. This is just the visible code. So here is our hello. Now hello is working. Here is our version. Version is working. It means underneath is calling this v1 version, and underneath is calling the v1 hello. So it matches with our front-end requirement. So now we are here. Let's try to reload it and look into hello. So let's see, the call to this hello is 406, not acceptable. It means that we are hitting this v1 hello, but the response is not acceptable, and we can look into our, when we are making this call here, and this request is coming here, and then get request, which is implemented here. And as you could see here, that our expectation is that we are getting application JSON type. If we look into our type here, what is coming back from v1 hello is a text plain. It means this is not a good answer. So we have to change this to application JSON. So once we change the media type to application JSON, and now we can come back here and try to reload it, and as you could see here, hello is accepted now. And now this v1 hello request is correct and is 200 okay, and response is coming hello program. It means that get message we are expecting as a JSON, so the type is JSON. However, this is not a JSON string. This is just a pure string, but at least the communication between front end and back end is established and everything looks good. To make it more JSON friendly, we could convert this to JSON, and if we look into the message what we want, we could actually say the, and we have escaped all those codes. Now we can replace this, save it, response, and this is the JSON object, as you could see here. So we have got the JSON response coming out from the backend in the front-end code. Same change we need to do for the version. So we could actually say here, type is application JSON, version 200, responses, message, and status. So we are getting this whole response correctly here. Let's come back to our code, and here is our code where we are getting this data version. So change this version to hello, and just make sure that hello, what happens, and here, oh, hello is coming here. So it means that hello message is coming, which is the text version of the JSON object we are getting back from our backend. It means we can look into the implementation of the version. We can come back to here. So here is the version. So this is the hello, which works now version, and we can see that this is the value which is not rendering, and reason is that because it has to have the codes. So we can add the codes here, and we can also add the code here. And once we save this, and if we come back here, make the call to version, and version is here. So now we could connect both front end to backend directly. So we can say hello get request, and here we can also say hello get request details, and here we can say let's use this hello, this is version, we don't need this, we don't need that. You can say version data is also this, and this version data. So we need to make sure that we are calling get requested details hello get hello details, and we call it get version details, and calling the get so we have hello and version, and we both have hello and version. There you go. So it's just a value coming out from backend. If we want to change this, not the string version, if we just want to show here, we could actually show here that version data dot the value is coming out from the backend is the message and status. Message, here you can see message value is there, and if you want to say the status, you could say message is that, and we have a box here. You could say here very quickly to status, and this should be, so you can access the Java script object here. Here is your message, and here is your status. So this is how you could connect your front end to backend over the GET request. Now we need to implement the POST part. In this next step, we are going to add support to POST call from front end to the backend. So let's create the POST call, and we will implement that POST call with hello. So here is our hello, and the request will be post REST app object. So it's gonna be post and post request, and we will call it post hello, and v1 hello, and we can just call it post, or just leave it as it is. And then we need to define the body, so we can call it post body here, and post body will be, just call it param is equal to Chakra UI Quarkus. So that's our post body, and this post body is going to be sent from here. So that's how the implementation of the post is. We need to API post body, and then result will be stored in this object. So here we have done, and we just call it backend post data, and backend post data is here. You can set either null or empty braces, so that's where post, and here is our hello, and request is post, and we are going to stringify the result for the backend post data. And if we come here, this empty because there is no backend code implemented for the post here. So we are going to add, so our post is here, and same thing, this will be consumes. So we need to say it consumes the media type application JSON, and it also produces the media type application JSON. Public hello, and that will be our post, and we are reading it, converting into JSON, and then looking to the param value, and this param value is going to be used by us, and this param value is what we are passing here. So we could say, let's take this param value and make it, so actually this is already a string, we don't really need it, says text, so we have param, and that way we are only getting the value coming out from the API parameters. As we could see here, let's reload, and if we look into the hello post and the response, now here is the value param, so let's make sure that this is, there you go. So now you are seeing that the JSON is fully qualified, because what we have done is that previously we were sending the full JSON string and we were getting back from the backend, but now we only getting the parameter part. So this is a more qualified correct string, and here whole answer as a response to the post request is rendered here. Let's come back to here, study one more time. So we are sending this post body as a JSON, we are sending a post parameter, so this post parameter, or if you want to call it, for example, this is our post parameter, and if this is the post parameter, then we have to take this and process it into the Java and say that look into for post parameter, find value, convert into a text, and when the parameter is text, paste as into the param data. And here is our hello request, here is version request, and here is the hello with post request. So the code related with our objective is ready. We have created this code in our Quarkus Java application, which has two endpoints, hello and version. Hello has a get and post implementation. So here is our post for the hello, and here is the get for the hello, and here is the get for only version. Here we are collecting this input object and converting it into the JSON object, so it became a JSON node. And after that we are looking into a particular parameter, so we could get the parameter value and returning back as it is. And in the front end we are collecting that data, we are getting all that data back to us in the JSON format, and here is we are collecting all that data. Let's close it and we look this front end code one more time. So what we have done, if we try to recap, very first step we added the setup proxy. Second, we made sure that in the dev dependency we have added the HTTP proxy middleware component. After that we have added support for get request, then post request, and after that we just use this get rest and post rest object to make the call the way we would want to connect to our backend and collect those backend results into the state variable. And once we have state variable, we can process them depending on what our needed. So I do have another code where I have shown in a tutorial that how you can connect the Chakra UI with the Python backend. And here you could see there is a Chakra UI Python combined code, And here in this area, we have all the details related with Python backend and Chakra UI frontend. So here is the combined code, and here is the Chakra UI frontend code. So if somebody is interested with Python connectivity with Chakra UI frontend, they can actually follow this and here in this code. And as you could see that there are several steps we follow in order to make it work. So I'm just giving you an idea while we are going to implement this backend connectivity with Quarkus web application. So that's all we had in this tutorial, and I will be seeing you in my another tutorial. Thank you. That's all, my friends. If you have enjoyed our content, please like it, share it, subscribe it. And finally, please remember, be good and do good. Thank you.